Thank you, Perry. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Rabbi. My name is Mark Barden, and as Perry said, I'm a musician. My wife, Jackie, is a school teacher. I'm originally from Yonkers, New York, and Jackie's from the Bronx. And we were just going about our lives, raising our three little children. We have a 13-year-old son, James. Our daughter, Natalie, is 11, and our Daniel was 7. We live in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and we did move there for the schools, and the schools are excellent. It's an unfortunate that this happened in the schools, but they're great schools there. So Daniel was minding his business in his first grade classroom when a gunman stormed into school and murdered him and 19 of his classmates and 6 of the administrators there at Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14th. And so our lives are just completely different now. Daniel was an exceptional little soul. He was a light of happiness and positive energy in our home. When he was in preschool, he was selected to be part of a program where he was paired with special needs kids because of his nurturing personality. And the instructors there would tell us on a regular basis that if Daniel saw somebody sitting alone, he would ask to go comfort them. He would ask to be excused from an activity so he could go comfort somebody who he thought needed some support. Or if somebody was stuck with their zipper, he would go ask if he could help. My niece Lauren spoke with Senator Schumer last week, and she told a story about how they were eating their ice cream together. Lauren is 22. And Daniel noticed that Lauren didn't have any Reese's peanut butter cups in her ice cream, and suddenly became very concerned about that and started digging through his own so he could give his to her. And that's how Daniel was. We got the same reports from his teachers in kindergarten and first grade that he was always the helper. He would go comfort somebody. On December 9th, we were out shopping, and my wife Jackie and the other 2 children and Daniel were all going to one store. They were going to get snacks and stuff, and I was going to a hardware store. And Daniel noticed that I was going by myself. So he told them, he said, I'm not going to go with you guys, I'm going to go with Dad because he's all alone. So Daniel had this wonderful capacity, and he was surrounded by love. His brother and sister were infinitely patient with him. They read to him, they played with him. He has a lot of cousins, ranging from age mid-30s down to his age. And so he had a lot of love and a lot of compassion, and he gave all of that back tenfold. My niece in Maryland started a Facebook site to honor his kindness, and she calls it What Would Daniel Do? When her daughter, who was 16 years old in Maryland, noticed a boy who was sitting by himself, she thought to herself, what would Daniel do? And she went over and engaged this little boy in conversation. And it had such a profound effect on him that he came back to her at the end of the day and said, what was your name again? You were so nice. You sat and talked with me for such a long time. Thank you. And it had a profound impact on this kid, just going over and talking to him. So her mother, who's my niece, got the idea and said, I'm going to start a Facebook site so the world can see this. What would Daniel do? And I think right now it has 23,000 likes on it. And it's not about policy, not about legislation, doesn't cost money. It's just about sharing this little platform of simple kindness. And so if we can share that and spread that throughout the world, I think that little bit of cultural change, we can maybe nudge this culture in somewhat more of a positive direction. I think on December 15th, the day after this happened, a small group of family members in our community came together to form what is now the Sandy Hook Promise. And the Sandy Hook Promise is about that. It's about affecting change, about affecting positive change on many levels. It's about cultural and community and family connectivity. It's about talking to the person sitting alone. You know, there's a sad parallel that I've noticed in that the young man who killed my son was the little boy that sat alone. And so maybe if there was a little Daniel Barden that came along somewhere in his growing up that spoke to him, perhaps things could be different. So the Sandy Hook Promise is trying to address those issues and many others. And right now, this issue of gun legislation is the issue that's on the table. And the families that have been involved with Sandy Hook Promise are a broad spectrum of cultural, political, economic, ethnic. None of these people signed up for this. We were selected at random. I don't even know what their political views are. I don't even know if they're Republicans or Democrats or independents or what. Maybe there's gun owners or non-gun owners. But everybody's been galvanized to try to reach the same goal and just try to find a way that we can be a safer, less violent society. So it's not a partisan issue for us, it's a personal issue. And it's not just about mass shootings. It's about, I think the number of gun-related violence in our country, and it includes all kinds of different gun-related violence, but I think it's at about 32,000 every year here in the United States. So we're looking for a nonpartisan solution. This is not about being Democrats or Republicans. This is about being human. It's a human issue. So part of the Sandy Hook Promise, we have participated in a lot of this legislative process. I'm a guitar player. I don't know politics, or at least I didn't. I'm learning about it now. We've been in Washington, we've been in the Senate, we're learning how the sausage is made. We went down there in February to meet with the senators and just to find out what's going on and to listen and to learn and see how the process works. We did take a position on federal legislation to support background checks, limit on magazine size, and anti-gun trafficking. You know, people will tell you that Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country, and yet they have one of the worst gun violence problems in the country. And if you look at the neighboring states like Indiana, they have some of the most lax gun laws. So we have to look at things like straw purchases and trafficking as well. When we went down to Washington a few weeks ago, we were surprised to find that there were many in the Senate that were trying to block this conversation from even happening. They were trying to impose a filibuster so that the votes so that they didn't even have to vote on it. I think Jon Stewart said, if you're going to spend millions of dollars to get yourself elected to a position where you're a legislator and you make laws, how dare you then try to block the laws from being made and try to block yourself from having to vote and be on record for voting up or down. So I think we met with 29 United States senators in the course of 48 hours in closed-door meetings where we sat down and we told them our story and we cried with them and we showed them pictures of our children. And we said, this is why you have to do this. It's not about politics. It's about saving lives. And so, you know how the story ends. So we're disappointed, but we're not discouraged. As the congressman just said, you look at the polls, Kelly Ayotte is down 15% because she voted no. She looked me in the eye and said, you're right, we do have a problem here. She looked at my picture of Daniel and cried and then voted no. Senator Rob Portman from Ohio, my 13-year-old son met with him. And he looked him in the eye and said, Senator, do you think this Toomey Mansion proposal would save some of the 1,000 lives that are lost to gun violence in Ohio every year? And he said, I think it could. And my son James said to him, "Well, can you look into your heart and please consider that when you cast your vote?" And he said, "Yes, I will." And then he voted no. I don't think it's time to shame these people right now. I think we've worked hard to cultivate a relationship with them. Yes, I think they should be held accountable by their constituencies. But right now, when we're asking them to vote again, and they will be asked to vote again on this, I think they need our support. And I think the people that voted yes are also under pressure. There are senators from conservative states that are under a lot of pressure. They need our support. I think we need to speak up. I think we need to reach out. If you have constituents in any of these states that voted no, please appeal to them, because this will be back. I think this will be back I think they're trying to get it back before the August break, so maybe June or July. The Toomey Manchin bill, which does not take away Second Amendment rights. It does not start a registry. There's actually a clause in there. There's a provision in there that says it's a felony to start a federal registry. So it's not about the slippery slope to confiscation, which some will offer. It's not that. We just have to keep moving forward and try to speak up. That centrist group, that 90% that supports this, we have to make sure they are as loud as the other side. And I think we can make this happen. I think we can move forward and make this nation a safer, better place. And I know I have to do that. Daniel would be out there doing it, and he's not able to anymore, so I have to do it for him. So that's what Daniel would do. Thank you for your time.